This is our front door entry, but when Warren Jeffs lived here, it was not his main family's front entry. We heard that they came in through a side door in the kitchen. This was pretty much reserved for people from the community to come in and be able to meet with him. So this right here was his office. Still has the built-in bookshelves here from him. You'll see that a lot of things have paint and color on the walls. The house did not come like that. That's all been done since we've had it. These rooms have been adopted. So we're trying to make them into a little bit more lively, peaceful places, as we were told that Warren Jeffs did not want any color on his walls, any differentiation, any characteristic to it. So it was all completely white walls everywhere. This is another room here. This was another Warren Jeffs private room here. When we first got the building, behind that curtain there was a Murphy bed. We've had lots of women come in and just tell us horror stories of things that took place in this room. And it's pretty interesting because out of the whole house, this is really the only room that most of the women have really traumatic memories of. So one of the first things we did when we got the building was pull the Murphy bed out. This is a picture that somebody from the community gave us, and the reason that we have it here is it was a picture taken in this room right behind me, and before we took the carpet off the walls you could actually match it up and see this was a dance that he did. So that's Warren Jeffs with a few of his wives. And one of the big questions that we get asked, especially from community members, is why on earth would we frame this and put this here? We're not memorializing Warren Jeffs, but sometimes you have to understand what happened in the past to understand the amazing things that are happening now. Every bedroom, bathroom, and hallway has an intercom system so that you never missed a message from him or when he spoke. His is the only one that has an on-off switch here in his bedroom because he was the only one allowed to speak through the intercom. And then over here, we found these cover plates in every room in the exact same spot next to the window. So every room in this location has one of these covers. When we were doing some work in the attic, we found that all of these had AV video wires coming through them. But one of the interesting things is this room here. So we have two of these rooms. This is one of our communication rooms. It's interesting because when we set up our internet service here, the guy that came out asked my husband, he goes, "So what exactly do you guys do here?" And he said, "So how does it explain that these lines are tapped?" And one's like, "I don't know, we don't use these lines." And then he also holds these up. He says these are 5 illegal wires. So these are all underground fiber optic cables that are providing their own intranet to avoid the internet and avoid the FCC. So this is illegal. You are not supposed to avoid the internet by creating your own intranet system. But we've been told that one goes to St. George, one goes to his dad's house, one goes to the marshal's office, one goes to City Hall. So there's lots of different stories that we've heard over time that have to do with the house. There's a couple different stories about the different levels of the house. So they would say that the more faithful wives had the rooms up here. They were bigger, they had a better view, it was a little bit nicer, a little bit brighter. And we were told that the women who were downstairs on the basement floor would make things up about the women up here to try to get the nicer rooms. We also heard that Warren Jeffs moved them around quite frequently as a form of control for them, so they were never in the same room for long periods of time. And that's not just in this house, that's other compounds and other houses throughout the United States and throughout the community. Yes, so there was lots of different places that they could be moved around to whenever he felt like it. So the numbers were from Warren Jeffs, not from us. And all of the people have told us that he numbered the rooms, numbered the compounds, numbered the houses, and then numbered the wives as well. So it was a code way of talking to be able to say, 24, R17. There's a lot of storage closets in the property, which is nice. So we were told that they were all alphabetized here, just with letters on them, and that each wife could store their own things here. When we first got the house, we started learning about all of the records that Warren Jeffs didn't want people to know about. So with the United Order, when they were split from the families, when nobody owned their own house, and he would move them out of a house, move another family into a house, he had to keep records of that. Every time he sent a husband away or reassigned families, he had to have records of that. So what's interesting is we found out this was the place that they stored a lot of the records. Plus, we also heard that he was just uber paranoid. So always looking to find ways out, always looking to hide from the government and hide from law enforcement. So this is our basketball court. Warren Jeffs originally built it as a basketball court, but then in the early 2000s, that's when he said no toys, no games, no bikes, no sports. Play was spelled W-O-R-K.
Yeah.
No camping, no school, no color red, no dogs, right? That whole era. Nothing fun in any way, shape, or form. So he actually cut the basketball posts down to nothing. So when we got the property, there was nothing there. Those black posts weren't there. It was ground down to nothing. So we started coaching some of the local basketball leagues and the kids. So they were coming over every day using the little temporary one there. So we had a donor that funded us the money to be able to put the basketball hoops back up. And what's awesome about that is we always try to hire locally for people to come out and do the work. So the guy that we ended up hiring happened to be the same guy that originally built them for Warren Jeffs.
Okay.
Took them down, and then he was able to come back and put them back up for us. The day that he finished, he put the nets back on, and the kids were coming over to practice. And so he was able to play a few hoops with them, and he just sat there and he told me, he says, you have no idea how good it is to see these kids laughing and playing and utilizing this and having fun. Yeah. So it's pretty exciting to have them done and have that be the same person that did it for Warren Jeffs. What I love about this room is that it was one of the main people that did it was one of Warren Jeffs' sons. Came back and redid this room. And so the day that he came down to actually bring supplies in and start working on his stuff, and he looks at me and he goes, are you kidding me? And I said, what? And he goes, this was my mother's room. I had no idea. I had randomly selected a room for him because he wanted one on this floor, because he said when he lived here, he was on this floor. And he was banished, I think is the word that he used,
right,
to this floor here, because when the sons were here, they were not allowed to communicate with the rest of the mothers or any of their sisters, so any of the females in the house. So he was literally on this floor with the main mother that took care of them, who happened to be his own biological mother. So when he came, he said, how did you know? And I said, I didn't know. This was your mom's room. So it was really special for him to come in and redo his mom's room, pull out all the carpet. You know, one of his friends who did the mural here, but it was really neat to see him kind of open up and talk about his experience and his feelings in redoing his mother's room. One of the very most special things that I think about it is that his mother's job here, because all the moms had jobs that they had to do while they were here. So they were caretakers, they were teachers, they were, landscapers. His mom's job was the landscaping of the property. So her favorite thing was plants and flowers, and her favorite color was green because of the plants. And I love that was the theme for this room without him even knowing that it was, his mother's room. So it really is kind of a memorial and, a nod to his mother. So this is the last room in the house that has the sound dampening bar on the bottom there. So we were told that when Warren Jeffs lived here, this room was completely off limits. This was the sacred holy prayer room. He wouldn't let anybody in here. And then when he went to prison, he opened this up, and Brielle, who was one of his wives, and a lot of the other women talk about how every hour on the hour they had to come in here, gather everyone up, get on their hands and knees, raise up their hands, and recite a prayer that he wrote for them to say. So they talk about having to gather everybody up and coming in and doing that every hour on the hour. So this was the room that primarily took place in. So all of the rooms have been adopted by people all over the country. They'll fly in and they'll design it, they'll decorate it, they'll furnish them, just make them a safe place for women. I always like to tell people the interesting thing about the house is that it's a message of hope. So the Dream Centers are a worldwide network. They're all nonprofits. There's 277 worldwide. There's 7 alone in India. Our motto is find a need and fill it, find a hurt and heal it. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do here. There's a lot of needs that we're trying to fill. Mainly Dream Centers focus on drug and alcohol addiction and recovery. So we do that as well as trauma recovery. And then we're really big on education and then helping with human trafficking, any type of sex trafficking for the women coming out of dangerous situations. We're working really closely with the local marshals for any new child assault cases, providing a safe refuge and a safe place for people to go. So that's primarily what we work on here, as well as education and counseling for people too.